So anyway, let's get started. All right, my name is Erwin Williams. I'm the Chief Software Engineer here at Teleios Systems. And I'm going to talk to you about Teleios, but how we, some of our services in the marketplace. But then we would make a huge jump to hear from other Teleios people. I actually asked a lot of my colleagues to go ahead and send me recordings about what they do, how they've been working here at Teleios, especially over the last year with the pandemic, and we will see how that goes. This is the second time we're doing a virtual tour. You were actually the first time. Last year we did it with a class, one of your classes, when the pandemic had just kicked off. And it was cool, so let's see how this goes. Right, so Teleios Systems. We're a software development company. We build software services and solutions. And one of the things we do is provide technology services for business transformation. So I'll take that bent at the start of the presentation, and then we see what cool things happen. Yes, let's keep going. So some quick facts about who Teleios is. Some of you may know Teleios because of the messaging part of our business, because it's been a very prominent part of what we do in the region for a long time. Teleios has been doing mobile banking for a number of the banks here in Trinidad and therefore across the region for a while now. I think I'm blocking my quick facts, actually. Let me move that. Yeah, for a while now, so that maybe if your parents get salary alerts via their phone, more than likely they're using one of our services. Beyond that, we would have done and continue to do SMS promotional campaigns. Let's say you're involved in Coca-Cola campaign way back when, we would have been some of the people to provide those kinds of support, text to win and stuff like that. Beyond that, we are an independent software vendor in the Microsoft Partner Network, which means we provide services on top of Microsoft's platform. There are a number of Microsoft partners around the world, many partners, and we are one of the few in the region who would have made a very strong commitment to building solutions, writing code on top of their platforms, and therefore received a number of certifications from them, and even things like awards, which I'll talk about in a little while. Teleios has been around since 1997. Any of you were born in 97? I don't even know. I mean, every year it gets further and further away from that starting point. And I see a hand. Who's that? Is that Kasim? Kasim, are you okay? What's going on? Kasim, if you're talking, I'm not hearing you. Or Kasim, maybe you didn't actually have me for your hand to be up. I see Kasim is now offline. Kasim, I hope you're okay. If you come back and have a question, do feel free to raise your hand. Never mind. So yeah, we've been ISV for a long time, and Teleios has been around since 97. So what do? We write software, and that goes in terms of from scratch, really, writing on top of just bare bone Windows, for example. We create web applications, we build in the cloud, we've built mobile applications, we've written all kinds of software over the years, and we continue to find new ways to express that skill. But we also integrated a lot of existing systems. It may be someone has an API. You guys know what an API is? Anybody here can say what an API is? Really? Nah. All right, I'm gonna go with that. An API is an application programmer's interface. Literally meaning, if one company has products and services, let's say that company is Amazon, and you wanted to integrate with Amazon, maybe you wanted to access information about Amazon's product and services, you would do so via an API, typically over the web. So you make calls via the web and access information and share with that provider if they make it so available. Teleios has also built APIs over the years. We have a messaging API called the SMS push service. We have an aggregation specific API called TASA. It was actually Teleios aggregation services for SMS API, but of course, if you compress that, you're going to get TASA, which we are very glad to talk about from time to time. And we have other kinds of APIs we've built over the years as well. In terms of other integrations, maybe companies are interested in having us talk to their backend, talk to their manufacturing backend, or talk to some of the parts of their system, and that's how we do it via those integration points. Beyond that, we also have assisted and continue to provide consulting services in business and process automation. So we're a full-fledged software services shop, and we've been doing that for quite a while, and therefore developed a lot of expertise in it. And so that expertise has led to us winning a number of awards over the years. There's part of the Microsoft Partner Network is celebrating various partners and how they do in a country or region. So we won that in 2010 for our Teleios Code Jam initiative that involved competitions and involving students around Trinidad and Tobago writing code and submitting that code for us to evaluate, and therefore winning prizes. By that, Microsoft recognized it and gave us the Global Youth Spark Citizenship Partner of the Year Award. As a global award we won just from here in Trinidad for the advocacy stuff we did with students. And of course, we've also won the Application Development Partner of the Year Award for a platform we have at Teleios called QuickWorks. It's a low-code platform, and that is one of those key terms in our industry these days. Low code, meaning you're not writing a lot of code, but you're still building software solutions and software services. QuickWorks has been in development for a while. We're actually getting ready to launch version 3 of it. We're very excited by that, and you'll hear some of our engineers talk about it in a little bit. So, and we're also a gold partner. Where are services delivered? And I know that this presentation, for some students, they tend to use it for research, but it's also just good to know that you can have software firms doing this stuff, and our software, our solutions written here in Trinidad and Tobago, impacting around the region and even as far afield as the States and beyond. So it's really exciting to be part of such an initiative, writing code that you know can impact many people around the region and even the world. And in fact, Teleios' tagline is software to run the world, and that comes from our orientation, saying that from here in Trinidad and Tobago, we can build solutions that are relevant to the planet and deliver value across the world. Make sense, guys? All right, so before we dive into our message from our CIO, any questions? Let me see. Raise the hands if you're cool, if everything made sense. Things like so not just just raise your hands if things are cool. Actually, just want to see the hand raising thing. There you go. I saw Stephen. I find that so cool. My screen is lighting up. I think this is amazing. Anyway, and I'm sure you're thinking, but you use Teams every day. Yes, I do, but the hand raising thing is one of the newer features, and I dig it a lot. All right, cool. So let's dive in. So just to get started, I'm going to share a message from our CIO, and to do that, I'm going to share my screen and therefore audio. Give me 1 sec, right? I hope you guys are having a good morning today. We're in March, so you would have already started your second semester sometime now. How are things going in that regard? How is your second semester going? See, Jarrett, excellent. I see. How do you pronounce your name? Amitisha? Amitisha says it going. And I know that feeling. I have a colleague, Akash, and there's a name he told me one time, and I was like, "You mean Sudesh?" He's like, "No, Owen, Sudesh." So I'm always struggling at times to pronounce some of our names, as people struggle to pronounce my name from time to time as well. So I get your hood. So anyway, let me share this screen. Let me know if you guys are seeing it fine. I know you were seeing it before, but you should be seeing maybe a different overlay now. Confirm for you, you're seeing the screen fine, guys?
Yes, sir, we're seeing it properly.
All right, cool. And confirm you're hearing audio okay.
Hi, students. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're looking at this video.
So were you guys hearing that fine?
Yes.
Nice. Sir. Great.
Hi, students. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're looking at this video. My name is Dale Wilson, and I am the CIO or Chief Information Officer here at Teleios Systems Limited. And my responsibility is for all IT or information technology direction, strategy, and execution. And what that basically means is that I have to develop all ICT plans and implement those plans to make sure that those systems are in alignment with the company's business strategy. All right, so it's not independent. All of our systems have to be linked towards achieving the company's goals. So I and my team are responsible for doing that. My team consists of a number of people knowledgeable in IT infrastructure, particularly the cloud, operating systems, networking, IT, security, etc. And we are responsible for making sure that these systems are always running in an optimal manner and that they are ready and able to support all of the company's functions as each group carries out its day-to-day operations. So those would consist of machines for individuals, all of the equipment in our headquarters, our offices. Of course, some of those machines are now in people's homes because since the last lockdown, most people are working remotely. So we had to put systems in place to ensure that people are able to work from home, access the information that they need, and to do so securely. So again, that's an example of aligning the ICT systems to the business strategy and business goals. We also have equipment in our local data center. That's where we run a lot of our managed services, and we have resources running in the cloud as well. So my team is responsible for ensuring that all of those systems and resources are running optimally so that everybody else can do their job. So we are kind of like the technology foundation upon which the entire company runs.
Nice. Thanks, Dale. And what do you guys think? Any questions about that? All right, let's keep going. So that's Dale. He's our CIO, and you'll have heard his role and how key that is to helping us build the company, support the needs of the company, and ensure we are doing it in a safe manner. But who's building our software? Who's writing our code? I kind of want to get started with that. So let's see. This is Akash Hiram. He's a distinguished engineer at Teleios Systems, and let's hear his perspectives over the last period of time. You'd also see or hear from our engineers talking about how they would have responded to the pandemic in particular. And that's one of the things that separates this conversation with you guys from maybe last year when we first had the introduction to Teleios via virtual engagement. Essentially it was March. It was just business as usual was still going on for many of us. Lockdown hadn't started properly yet. Companies were kind of being proactive, like Teleios was at the time, but we were still looking at the world as we did perhaps at the top of 2020. This is a year later, and so a lot of our comments and some of the stuff said by the engineers you're hearing here would be tinged with perspectives from that, and we'll actually also see how Teleios responded to it as well. So let's hear from Akash.
Hi, good day. My name is Akash, and I am a senior software developer here at Teleios Systems, primarily working currently on the PowerWork solution, which is a set of technology that we've built to support power co-ops in the US. So it includes websites and a mobile app. I'm mostly focused on building out the mobile aspects of it. About a year ago, almost all of Teleios moved into work from home mode because of COVID. So we've all been trying to cope with how to operate in this new world, essentially. So for me in particular, it has been pretty interesting. Being an introvert, it was actually not so bad, to be honest. So apart from building software for Teleios, I'm also a game developer. So I am currently learning game development in Unreal Engine and trying to use that to build out a couple of games. I have a bunch of games I've already built using HTML5 technologies, Phaser.js, and that type of thing. But I'm currently trying to explore the world of 3D game development. And that is me in a nutshell. Hope you found this informative. Goodbye.
Very nice. Thank you very much. That's Akash. Hi, Ram. Guys, what do you think about that last bit about being a game developer? Any of you are interested in doing that kind of stuff? Anybody here has made games already, in fact? In fact, so stick your hands up if you've either made a game or you're interested in game development. I seen Novel. No, I'm sorry, Novel. Novel, you've made games before?
No, I haven't actually, but it's interesting to me.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Why is it interesting? Are you an avid game player? Do you play a lot of games?
Yes, I'm actually a gamer.
Nice. What are you good at? What do you like?
I'm good at PUBG and these kinds of games.
PUBG.
Yeah.
What about you? Thanks, Novel. What about you, Caitlin?
I have not made any games, but I am a pretty avid gamer as well.
Right. What are you playing? What do you like?
Paladins, Minecraft, PUBG. Practically tried a lot of games already.
Right. Very nice. That's funny. I grew up playing a few games, but these days I do play a lot, except Halo. I don't anybody here plays Halo? You guys even know what Halo is? No, you don't?
A lot of us play Halo.
Nice. Now here's the thing though, and this is going to date me, I know. I only play Halo CE, and I only play it with one colleague. We're the only two people in the office who play it. It's ridiculous. But we have a lot of fun. I'm laughing at myself because everyone in the office laughs at us, but we dig it. And thanks, Sadie, for that laugh out loud. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. We dig it, and we always kind of celebrate Akash's game development stuff. A little bit later, you see how that game development activity kind of actually contributed to us dealing with pandemic. Dealing with pandemic and dealing with just the change in work environment. So let's continue. Yeah, Kasim, it's fine if you drop off and come back on. We have a few hands up. Yes, Sadie, go ahead.
I didn't quite catch the first part of his presentation with working with the United States for Power Apps. Was that it?
Yes. So it's funny you say Power Apps. So Power Apps is something else, right? Power Apps is a technology from Microsoft. Essentially, it is a low-code platform from Microsoft. We have a solution called PowerWorks. PowerWorks is deployed to our customers in the States, and we work with power co-ops in various parts of the States to deliver functionality to them. They do actually things called line inspections, which some of you may be familiar with if you have family or friends involved who work at TNTech, for example. So we provide a solution for them, and we'll continue to roll that out because it has been delivering a lot of value. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so let's keep going. Right, so we were in a pandemic. Though you would have heard Akash say, well, listen, I'm an introvert, right? So being home and avoiding people is a delightful thing to me. Nevertheless, many of us aren't, and it was a bit of a shock. So we had we as a company had some deliberate responses around the pandemic that I think is useful to talk about. What do you guys think hashtag FFF means? Anybody here does web development too? Because you might jump out and say, oh, I know what that is. Yeah, well, I know, it's okay, it's okay. So let's see if you figure it out as you go on. I like facts, foresight, and future ambition. But here's what we did. We had one of those meetings. We had a lot more Teams meetings and virtual meetings last year than ever before, like many companies. And one of the things we did was have a meeting where we just talked about what we did to stay fit during the pandemic. Some of our teammates got more into cycling and physical activities, so I got more into swimming. My colleague, you could see, was doing workouts with his daughter. You have that brick represents one of our teammates who said, listen, I started to work out using bricks and anything I could find at home. People were running. And one of the things we developed, we actually have a weekly team meeting. So meeting on Teams where we do one of those boxing workouts. So it's where the coach is calling out moves and we are executing those moves at home. It's a lot of fun. It's very tiring, but it's an example of how we chose to stay fit together during a pandemic. But beyond that, we deliberately asked people, how are you going? How are you feeling? And we got a lot of interesting responses. Some people learning how old they were, others appreciating their family more, things like that. So it really helped us kind of capture the sentiments of how people were going. Some of us love being able to chill and observe the natural environment around us and being less in the office. Some of us got more involved in art and drawing and things like that. So one of the things was fitness, the other was feeling, and the other is, as it turns out, some of us became foodies. From really cool smoothies to growing things ourselves to, you can see the one on the far right, that's one of our colleagues, getting artwork baked into a cake. And things like that. So it really was a time for us to not just stay home and mope, but to sort of figure out how to handle this pandemic as a team and together. So that FFF stand for food, feelings, and fitness. Some of the things we try to work on during this pandemic. Makes sense? So are you guys getting a sense of it wasn't just business as usual, and so as a software company and as a firm, just as the company we are, we decided to embrace those challenges together, which is a key aspect of what it is to be Teleios. We build together, we take on the world together, and even inside of this pandemic, we stuck to our understanding of what it was to build together. Make sense, guys? Nice. So, of course, it's not all fun and games. It's not just, oh, we're home now, so the work gone and done. And let's hear from another one of our leaders at Teleios. This is Niall Johnson.
Good day. My name is Niall Johnson. I am a software development lead in the QuickWorks group in Teleios. I primarily focus on developing and supporting multiple versions of our QuickWorks platform. QuickWorks is a low-code platform that enables the rapid development of solutions for the enterprise. We are currently working on releasing a new version of QuickWorks. QuickWorks is changing to utilize a microservice architecture. In addition to this, I do everything a senior developer does, developing code and people.
Nice. So that was Niall Johnson, one of our software development leads at Teleios. So one of the things you would appreciate is, so Niall mentioned that we're building this platform called QuickWorks, and he mentioned we're moving to a different kind of software architecture. It's not just that we're evolving how the application looks or how it feels or how it behaves, but we're thinking deeply about the kinds of changes we need to make to keep our look into the future tied to what we're building now. And so as a software company, you might think, oh, we wrote the code once, we write the program once, we finish version 1 and we're done. That will not allow you to grow successfully in the future. You have to be able to evolve and deal with both the changing environment around you as well as your changing understanding. And I hope that as you guys hear these messages from our engineers, it kind of gives you a deeper sense of what it means to be a software company, a software services firm like we are. And so if you're interested, for example, I know some of you said, I want to build games. If you're interested in building games, know that as you get past your first step, maybe you think your first step is getting a degree, or your first step is finishing one course or the other, know there's more to come, and we're excited to evolve, and I hope you're excited to learn and evolve as well. How are you guys going? Any questions based on what Niall said? If you understood and you're fine, let me see the hands again, because I think the hands are very cool. Just shoot your hand up if you're going okay and things are, there you go. There you go. I think that's so amazing. I love it. All right, let's keep going. All right, so this is Ryan Shripad. Ryan has been at Teleios for a long time, and he's going to talk. So Niall represents the guys who are building the QuickWorks platform. And Ryan is one of the guys who's working with the work Niall does to deliver it to customers. Timothy, I see your hand is still up. Since your hand is still up, let me hear from you. Even if you didn't have a question, how are you going?
Yes, sir, I'm good. I'm fine.
Any questions, or you're all right?
No, sir, I'm good.
So Timothy, you're here in this meeting. Are you interested in the software stream, or are you just kind of checking things out?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Are you like Caitlin, you want to build games yourself, or you have other kinds of things you want to build? Or you don't know at all, you're just being exposed to everything for the first time?
Yeah, I'm just being exposed to everything right now.
All right, good man. Well, good to hear from you. Let's hear from Ryan.
Now, while QuickBooks and other similar low-code platforms provide a lot of power to analysts in terms of application development quickly, customers frequently require increasingly complex interactions with varied and external data sources. My primary role is stepping into those edge cases and developing applications around them so that we can increase the overall value of the system to the customers. My secondary role is mentoring newer developers within the company, which brings with it a different type of joy to me. So I really like my primary role for several reasons. I love writing code, and I still have a lot of code to write on a day-to-day basis. In addition, I like solving the problems that come with existing running systems that you have to fix on a continuous basis. So I get to scratch that itch. This is not something that everyone gets to do. To exist in that intersection of things that you like to do and things that you get paid to do. And not for 1 second do I take that for granted, right? Additionally, I also get to build systems that deliver real value to actual people. You know, it's not theoretical things. The systems I build affect real people. So I dislike inefficient processes, like, for example, a manual paper-based student registration system process that has to go from desk to desk to desk to get stamped. The systems that I get to work on provide immediate benefits that are orders of magnitude more efficient than the manual workflows most of us are accustomed to. So little by little, I get to make the world a better place from process to process. Now, hopefully all of you chose this field because you share my enthusiasm for technology and the power that comes with it to make a real difference. So I hope you all are also within that intersection, doing the things that you do, and that you also get to get paid for doing that stuff. Thanks.
What do you guys think about that? This idea of doing something that you love that you get paid for. Anybody here has that orientation? I want to do something that I love and get paid for it. Or are you of this sense of, I just want a job, you know? How does it line up for you guys?
I would feel personally more enthusiastic being paid for something that I have a passion for.
Yeah, we earlier on, like, not today, but early on in life, I used to hear a lot of do the thing you love, but there wasn't a guardrail around it. It was just do the thing you love. Now I think we've kind of settled on realizing you kind of just say to people, do the thing you love. You have to find that middle ground between the thing you love and what someone will pay you to do. So it's a kind of a search, it's kind of an exploration. And I think Ryan kind of hit the nail on the head in saying, listen, I found the thing that I love that I will also get paid for. I see Amitisha says, passion eventually fades and the job is a job. Amitisha, I want to say you're too young. You're too young, Amitisha, to have that very stark perspective. I think you're right in some senses. If your job and the needs placed upon you doesn't evolve at a fairly frequent cadence, you could find yourself just thinking, I'm just doing my job. I'm just going to do my job. We have that challenge in our industry as well. It's where we have this notion that you could write code for 20 years, right? So you can be a developer for 20 years. But the kind of code you write is the same year on year. So it's like 20 years doing the same thing, 20 one-year experiences. And that kind of thing can become a job. It can become that trudge. But if you're writing different kinds of code and different kinds of solution and you're exploring all kinds of architectures. And here's one of the interesting things. I mentioned a thing about version 1 a while before. We have found that if we wrote code, let's say 5 years ago, and we come back to look at the same code, because of how our orientation is to growth and new experiences and challenging ourselves and learning every day, the code we wrote 5 years ago, we want to change and do it over, do it better than we did before. So part of our passion in this industry is that we are continuously changing, continuously growing, continuously writing for a world to come rather than the world that is. So I think that there's a nuance to what you said, Amitisha. I like the honesty of the perspective. Passion fades and a job is a job. But if you are in an industry like this, you can somewhat avoid that, and you see it with people who remain enthusiastic many years into the job they're doing, because it gives them that kind of challenge. It gives them the ability to continue to grow and explore. So I hope there's a bit more balance, Amitisha. As I said, I like the honesty, and I think that honesty will help you a lot, as long as you're willing to definitely explore some other options and the perspective you shared. All right, let's keep going.
Now, while QuickBooks...
So just a quick note, how we actually build the software. So this is not fair. It's not really how we build the software. It's more how we conduct software engineering, meaning building the software for us does relate to writing code or using our low-code platform. That is putting the bits together. But it's good to understand the process around that. And we use a process known as Scrum. Scrum is a framework for developing software services, but not just software services. You can use it for anything, to be honest. And it talks about developing a list of requirements or features in a thing called a product backlog. The list doesn't have to be exhaustive, and the requirements don't have to be super specific. You can start off with a large grained understanding. So for example, let's say building a website, and you might start off by saying users should be able to sign up and log in. All right. How do they do that? You can refine that as you go on. What do you want to support them doing? Do you want them to be able to sign up from Facebook and Google and Microsoft? Do you want to have your own custom-built login solution? Those are some of the refinements that could take place. And as you refine, you have a set of time periods called sprints. And within a sprint, you could work on solutions and functionality. One of the key things about Scrum is that it is evolutionary. It involves building code that the customer you're building for, they get to see it early and sooner rather than later. And it's not tied stringently to processes. It's tied more to the people who are involved, and it's very it can be very dynamic in that sense. I didn't want to go too much into what Scrum is. You could do that research on your own. I just wanted to let you know we use Scrum and build our software solutions in teams where different stakeholders have different responsibilities. So we heard from a few engineers. Let's see who else is talking to us. This is one of our guys focused on how we ensure our solutions have increasing levels of quality.
Hi, good day. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jonathan Assam, and I'm a software engineering tester at Teleios Systems and a member of the quality assurance and SASOps team. Some of my responsibilities here at Teleios include creation and execution of test plans, suites, and scripts, also maintaining and improving existing test code, designing and implementing automated test frameworks. Also on a daily basis, I collaborate with the development team to fully test the entire product offering, integration points, and user interfaces. I also design and perform build verification tests for deployments. Thank you for listening.
So, guys, I want you to get a sense that the team has different skills, different responsibilities, different requirements. Going into this, hearing these rules thus far, so far you've seen our CIO, you've seen engineers who build our platforms, engineers who build our platforms, one engineer who uses our platform to build services for other customers, and you can see here Jonathan talking about the work he does to ensure the stuff we build has quality. I call it quality here an evolving consideration. And it really means for us that it's not that you say quality means the software runs in 20 milliseconds, or the software we build can scale to support 10,000 users concurrently. Or you understand, it's as we look at the world, we look at what needs to exist for working software, we adjust our processes to suit. I think the key thing for us is saying we have a step that considers specifically what quality looks like for the solution. When we started, it was mostly unit tests. Anybody here knows what a unit test is? What do you think it is? Let me ask Othniel. Othniel, how are you going?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine.
What do you think a unit test is?
I'm not quite sure, but I'm not quite sure.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So listen, when we think about software, quite often the software you see is broken. Any software you use is broken down into a set of sub features or components, and those components can be further broken down into functions or methods. A unit test represents the kind of test you perform on a very small or fine-grained aspect of your solution. You might test a single method, or you might test a class. A class is contains a bunch of methods. You wouldn't try to test too many things at once. And the goal behind that is essentially ensuring as you build each component, that component is put through a set of considerations to ensure it's working well. There's a variety of things you could do for that. You could test the kinds of data it receives and make sure it produces the right output. You can test how it performs at the time it takes to execute. You can test what happens when you give it bad data, bad input, things like that. So you can do that at the smallest grain of execution in your code and your application, and from that you can evolve that. So for us, we've been spending more time understanding how to do integration tests, which is components talking to each other. We also do quite a bit of front-end tests, which is perhaps if we build a website utilizing a tool, say like a tool like Selenium, to execute the website programmatically, automatically, so that when we finish write code for a website, we can just simply say to our test rig, execute, and it would be like a person is clicking through the buttons on the site, for example, to give us feedback about whether the things are responding properly and being built according to the level of quality that we want for our solutions. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Let's keep going, guys. So one of the things about quality for us, I have a friend, his name is Arthur. He, when we started to write code together, we were in probably year one. And normally when you're doing software development, especially to a new language or a new platform, one of the things they tell you to do is write hello world. Anybody here has written a hello world application yet? Let me see the hands if you have. Yeah, I see that hand. A lot of hands going up. Very cool. I see you, Stephen. I see you, Shamar. Yeah, so of course, in writing a hello world, they tell you, make a program output hello world. which is cool, you know. What Arthur used to do is he would make his program say, I am working. And so the fun thing with that is, while it's struggling to get the thing to work, it is clearly not working. But when it actually works, the program says to you, I am working. I used to find that so cool. That is nice. And going on from that, a lot about us developers, the I am working changes, of course, from a literal statement, which is I am working, into it's displaying the thing you wanted to display or performing the calculation you wanted to perform. And so the calculation being performed is good. I got it to do that. So for us, quality is both not just it doing the stated functionality, but how it achieves that functionality and how the thing works in the end, what process we use to get there. So if you find, so sometimes we therefore pay attention to even how the code is written, what style was used to produce the code, what tools we used to produce the code. Literally because if you don't have quality on that end, it might be difficult for someone to come after you and maintain or build upon what you did. So quality is both the how as well as the what. So moving on, here's another role at Teleios. This is Richard talking about our process on releasing software.
Good day, UB students. My name is Richard Ince. I am the release manager at Teleios Systems Limited. I work in the Solutions and Services Group, which is a group responsible for customers and fulfilling projects and requests that customers may make of us. Typically, our customers come from a variety of industries, variety of different locations, both within the country and internationally. And we need to release updates or release projects or release software to these customers, hence the name Release Manager. Typically, my day involves interacting across different teams, for we may have different teams working on different projects for different customers. And on a practical, everyday routine, that would mean meeting with the teams. It would mean looking at project plans, looking at commitments we've made to our customers, ensuring that we are prioritizing our commitments appropriately to deliver to our customers in the expected quality, with the expected time frame, within the expected budget. And once these things are being taken care of, once the priorities are being looked at, once there's a routine update from the team to me, one of the things that I can do together with my teams, not just on my own, and we all collectively work towards this, is we can share learnings across different teams. We can look for opportunities to reduce cost, to improve efficiency, to ensure our quality is being maintained. And by doing so, effectively, we satisfy our customers, hopefully delivering under budget, above expected quality, and within a shorter time frame than promised. Now, 2020 and coming into 2021 brought some challenges to our team. Now, we had been accustomed to working remotely, so some of our members of our team may have worked in different countries or different parts of Trinidad, so we didn't necessarily need to meet in the office all the time. However, 2021, 2020 expanded that opportunity where we are mostly, all of us, working remotely. That required our team to continue to morph, continue to mature, continue to be more accountable, continue to log our work and take responsibility for sharing updates with different members of the team more naturally, as opposed to needing to report. And that's one of the major ways we've been improving, or the major ways that 2020 to 2021 has challenged and grown our team. So in summary, I'd probably say one of the things that my responsibility as release manager here at Teleios involves is taking a good look at the process, taking a good look at the people, ensuring that no one is unduly stressed, and that's a responsibility we all share as we look out for each other, and taking, so that's process, people, and practice that we involve. We at Teleios, and you may hear another team member talk about this, use agile framework. Specifically, we've been using Scrum. And the practice of Scrum requires that we have certain types of meetings on a certain regularity, certain types of updates. So as a release manager, these will be some of the things I'll be looking at. Specifically as well, some of the outputs of my job function would involve documentation, would involve reports to my higher ups on how projects are going, would involve supporting the project manager who interfaces directly with the client to ensure that he is aware of all things that are going on in the project to sufficiently update the client. And together, these outputs, the documentation which helps the client know what we are releasing, the reports to my higher ups which ensure that all things are being considered, and the reports to the project manager, they together deliver to the client a quality product of high value, of expected quality within expected time and budget. That's a brief insight into my role as release manager here at Teleios, working in the solutions and services group.
Nice. That's from Richard Ince. What are you guys hearing thus far? What's jumping out at you? Let's take a little break from the recordings and the presentation.
Well, for me personally, I would assume that deadlines and punctuality is really strict right now.
Deadlines and punctuality being strict. Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Deadlines remain what they're called deadlines for a reason, and we definitely try to ensure we don't miss our marks in terms of deadlines and commitments of that nature. The punctuality one is hitting me in a funny way. You know why? Many of us are, so Richard mentioned working from home. I don't know if you guys, well, you guys are probably more on the requesting things of your parents' side, things if you are home. But on the parent side of things, we're working, but our kids are at home. We're working, but there are challenges that may pop up that are not normal to the work environment. So Teleios has, from my perspective as a parent, been very open to some of those challenges. So for example, those of us with younger kids would have online school. And so maybe at certain times of the day, we're not as available because our child is in need of some crayons or in need of an eraser, or it's break time, things like that. Or we have older kids and the kids need access to various tools and various kinds of help from us while we're at work. So it's really interesting that one of the things Richard mentioned is ensuring that as we transition to being essentially a 100% work from home organization, we were mindful of what it meant to be doing it in a pandemic with our families nearby, and therefore knowing that we have requirements, but being flexible about how and when those requirements get delivered. So in other words, your work day may be broken up day to day for us, but we're delivering what we need to deliver, or we're committed to deliver, while also ensuring our families and our homes are taken care of. I hope that makes sense, Novelle.
Yes, it does.
Anything else jumping out at us from what we heard? Does anyone get a sense that it was not simply business as usual as we transition to work from home? Anyone else get that feeling that, oh, these changes were more than just take my computer home? Yes, Stephen, I see you. Stephen, what do you think about that? That idea that it's not just take my computer home and do work. I'm doing the same thing in the office.
Well, as you said, there are more distractions at home and whatnot, and also I think there would also be security issues as well, considering you have employees accessing company information from their home networks and home computers and whatnot.
Right, very true. So to come back to what Novelle said, we're fairly strict about machine access. For example, we didn't send people home with laptops for their kids to play Minecraft, for example. That it remained a work machine, and you had to make sure you took care of it, you managed your own access to it, things like that, because of course we still want the company to be successful, to be safe, to deliver the value. Those are really good points. So we had to be mindful about, be upfront about But also, so Teleios wasn't perfectly new to work from home. We allowed it before. It was an option that could be exercised by teammates. However, it wasn't 100% as it became last year, and we had to make sure we were being very explicit about things like that to Stephen. That's a really good point. What about you, Shanique? Am I pronouncing your name right? Shanique? How are you going? Is everything making sense to you? All right, good to hear, man. Guys, let's keep going.
I was also wondering if you could give any other details on how the pandemic has affected the conduction of the business.
So from a business perspective, our clients in the world, which is the pandemic, the thing about the pandemic that was really striking is that this wasn't simply a local problem. It didn't just affect Trinidad and Tobago, even the region, was a global thing. So there was a lot of shared understanding of the struggle, so that our clients maybe in the past would have been very much more demanding of we need to meet in person to talk about something. Everyone shifted to meeting online. It wasn't like we had to convince someone. So business as a whole transformed to support the needs of lockdown as much as possible for our clients in particular. So we continue to meet with our clients via Teams and other mechanisms, sharing regular updates via email. One of the challenges you might see if you've been aware or paying attention on the payment side in Trinidad is the need for receiving payments via electronic means, not just dependent on checks, for example. And though, to be honest, Trinidad has been a bit slow as a whole in that context, we definitely have seen that customers and our partners have been willing to make various changes around things like payments, make changes around accommodation policies, around supply chains, and ensuring that what we need in terms of to run our business, from hardware and other kinds of things to just other resources needed to run. So did business change? Yes, but we all kind of changed, I think, together. Some was slower than others, but for our world, our neck of the woods, we saw changes that meant we all kind of empathized with each other. In fact, I was in a few meetings and my kids would be loud. And I'd say, guys, I'm sorry if you hear a child scream out in the middle of the meeting. It's because I'm home. And people would reply to me saying, listen, I get it. I have kids here too. So there was that shared understanding of we'll make it through together. Yes, Sadie, I see your hand. What's going on?
Right. So this is from a previous. One of the software engineers spoke about it with saying that doing what you love, right? But during this pandemic, you know that we are home. But my question is, how did you all stay active and productive? Yes, you spoke about they using the company's computer, so you all would be managing the productivity based on how they use the computer. But you know, sometimes people can go down into that depressive zone where you see the deadline and you just feel like, okay, I'm probably not going to make the deadline and I'm just going to sit and do it. How do you all stay active and productive?
Really good question, Sadie. So you'd have heard Richard mentioned using our tools more deliberately around tracking the work, right? We use a tool, for example, called Azure DevOps to log work, log when people have finished sprint backlog items, or when we've shifted a product backlog item through its stages from idea to coding to quality to deployment. So we used our tools much more deliberately. We paid attention to how we spent time during the day, even if we needed to pay attention to particular kinds of distractions. We were realistic about goals and our deadlines, and that manifested in terms of perhaps how we adjusted our expectations around when we could deliver a particular feature or a particular change. I do like the question you mentioned about, so for those of us who are working from home, it wasn't just, you couldn't simply pay attention to getting the work done. Even as much as you love the work, as much as you love writing code, we're whole people. So what else did we do to? I like a question because it leads me into this question. What else did we do to keep things going well? Because you can't just write code 100% of the time. I don't know if there are any of you here who actually all you want to do is write code and nothing else. But those people tend to be very, very few and far between, and that's not necessarily healthy. So what else did we do while in the pandemic? Very, very deliberate about checking up on each other. We had another one of those global Teams meetings. So typically when you meet on Teams, it's Teams. It's the Message Central team or the QuickWorks team or the sales team. And we had a few of those global meetings. And in one of our global meetings, we deliberately set up to check up on each other and see what we were doing. And people therefore recorded videos. Let me just quickly pivot to another presentation here. I'm not going to go through this presentation in too much detail, but we asked people, well, how are you living? How are things going? And it went from people sharing their workout videos. A couple of guys were sharing how they went on top of the roofs of their homes to make changes and make fixes, and we were slightly frightened for them, but it turned out to be okay in the end. We heard from this presentation involved one of our art-minded employees was sharing some of the drawing she did that she shared on Instagram. So essentially it was recognizing that we are whole people, from the workouts to what did your home environment look like? What was going on with you at home? Does that make sense? Essentially, we are deliberately checking into your well-being while you're working from home. Things like that. I hope that helps answer the question, Sadie. Yes, Sadie, go ahead.
Yes, and another question was, what are some of the languages you're used to write these different codes?
Definitely, good question. So we checked up on each other, made sure we were okay. And in terms of languages, we use a language called C#. We use a lot of the web languages. We use a lot of the web frameworks. We build solutions using React and React Native. We've been building on top of a cloud platform called Azure from Microsoft. It's a really broad set of tools and programming frameworks we use to get our work done. We built iOS apps. We've built using a framework called Vue. It's so diverse. The point is, here's what we do. We build applications for Windows, we build applications for the web, we build for the cloud. And as many as languages are available to do that, we've either explored it just to see how it works, or we've used it to build production solutions for customers. It's a really broad question. So for example, like I said, on the web, we've used React and React Native. On mobile devices, we've used and we're currently doing more of this stuff on the iOS side. We've used Swift on iOS. We've written Java applications before, and we've written Windows services. It's a really broad palette for us that lets us sort of understand very intimately what it means to build solutions with a number of languages and a number of platforms. Does that make sense? Anybody here writing Python? Anybody here writing C#? Anybody here writing code beyond what you did in class with C++? Like it's going on just write code for yourself because you like to have fun with code? Sadie, is that you?
Yes, I started writing codes to create web pages.
Nice, but what framework?
HTML.
So just HTML, started from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What about you, Stephen? Am I saying your name properly? Is it Stephen or Stefan?
It really goes either way, to be honest. I have family members that say Stephen, family members that say Stefan. But yeah, for me, I use C, which we technically learned that, but I use it to write some little Arduino codes to play around with in that in my spare time.
Nice. Very cool. I played with Arduino to the top of last year just to do a I was working on a friend and building and this is going to sound way more exciting than it is, but building an elevator. And so we used Arduino to control the switches for the elevator. we ended up not bothering with it because we bought the switch instead. But by the time we bought it, I'd built out my prototype in Arduino as well. So it's good to kind of explore how Arduino works, how to build to support that kind of hardware environment. It was cool. What else are you guys doing? Anybody else doing anything else? So you learned C in school, yes, for Arduino. Are you using the languages or language you've learned thus far beyond the school context? Shima, what about you?
Morning, so no, other than dealing with the language in class, I haven't really done much with code.
Got it. Are you interested in doing more?
I'm interested in it, but I can't see myself going into it in terms of a job. I prefer more like calculations and like just dealing with maths.
Right, right. Actually, I want you to remember saying that this year, right? In year one, remember saying that, and I just ping me in year 3 if you remain the same. If you haven't really, you know.
Okay, so
just ping me in year 3, Shima, and tell me how you've maintained that perspective or you've changed it all. Yeah.
All right.
And in fact, generally, guys, one of the things why we actually like doing this with you guys is we're open to hearing from you, hearing what you've built, what you've done, how you've evolved. This is perhaps the 6th or 7th year Teleios has been doing this kind of presentation. We used to actually come physically to your classes and talk with you. But we're always interested in what students are doing to learn and understand the world of software. It continues to explode in terms of applicability and ways to get in, and so we're really curious to see what choices you guys make, whether Shima decides to take his love of math further and perhaps do some machine learning or not. Or Stephen taking it, using his interest in Arduino and actually learning Python because Arduino supports Python now, things like that. So we love to hear those stories. We love to see you guys doing cool things. Make sense? And so talking about cool things, I think Peter will touch on it in a little while. So let's hear from Peter Teleios, one of our software architects at Teleios.
Hi, my name is Peter Teleios, and I'm a solutions architect here in the Solution and Services Group at Teleios Systems. I assist with many of the technical decisions being made when creating solutions, along with writing the code to implement those decisions. Part of my responsibilities include keeping abreast of technologies and trends within the development sphere, and apply that knowledge to new as well as ongoing projects. My team works with clients across the region to provide solutions which enhance business processes using Microsoft SharePoint, as well as our low-code solution building platform, Teleios QuickWorks. As a senior dev, I also assist in guiding younger developers wherever I can. Who knows, I might even be mentoring some of you guys in the future. I'm also part of the Teleios Power Committee. This committee is responsible for a weekly program here at Teleios where developers are allowed to present and share on topics that interest them. Many times they have fully coded demos to show off what they have learned and researched. One such power hour was a digital version of a physical card game that we love to play at Teleios called Dutch Blitz. This developer, Krisha, she made a digital version of this game for her power hour. So once we have a team's call, the game, she made it so good that it feels like it was the real thing. We have the same tension and anger when you lose and everything that comes with it. And then who knew how important that this software from the power would have been after the COVID lockdown for us. We were still able to play remotely with each other, hop on a Teams call, start up the Blitz game, and everybody having fun as if we were back at the office. So hopefully one day you all can make solutions that could positively affect others, just like this, as you pursue careers in this field.
I really like that point Peter made. So Peter mentioned 3 things he does or we ask him to do from time to time. One, he's a software architect. And for us at Teleios, the architect is the person who is monitoring external technologies and introducing them to Teleios. He's building platforms and introducing them to Teleios. and essentially in teaching Teleios how to grow in a particular set of technologies based on what he or she has learned. So Peter is, as part of his role, he's also building code, writing code, building solutions. He's mentoring and providing guidance. And the last example he gave was of he's part of a committee called the Power Hour Committee. And Power Hour is, as he said, an internal meeting we have every week. And one of those meetings, the presenter built a game. You can actually go buy the card game online. It's a game called Dutch Blitz. You guys, anybody heard about that game before? Blitz? I see Shanique saying yes. Really? In what context? How have you heard of Blitz? Have you heard of this game before? Dutch Blitz. Let me see if I could take some of our time and advertise for something that we do not sell. We just play it a lot. You guys seeing my camera? There we go. You guys seeing this box? It says Dutch Blitz. Yeah?
No, sir, we're not seeing. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, here it is.
Not seeing also.
As in not seeing my camera.
I'm seeing it, sir.
Oh, cool. Nice. So it's just the box, right? We after work we would play that game several times a week. And get work done, we gather at the table, play this game, and it was a lot of fun. It was like sting real bad, and it's fun because it's a card game, but we I guess it's a nice way to cool off some steam before you jump to take on traffic to go home. So pandemic strikes, we're all at home, and what Carisha does, she takes this card game and makes an online version of it so you can play it online. And at first we were skeptical. Can this game bring the vibes like we had in the office? And whoa, it really did. It really it was surprising how well we received it. And to this day, people still play Blitz on an afternoon after work. So it's one of those pandemic responses where we applied our creativity. Carisha investigated how to do this thing. I may have even spoken to Akash at some point because Akash has been building games and card games for a while too. And she went off and built this thing. And in building it, we found ourselves having a lot of fun and just ensuring that the community aspect of Teleios isn't lost while we transition to this very, very stringent work from home life. Does that make sense? So what we've done in this meeting or conversation is kind of take you through a lot of what it takes to build software at Teleios and the various team members involved. We introduced you to our CIO, Dale. We saw a number of engineers talk to us, including Peter, who shared with us his role. There's one more person we'd like you to see, and then I'll ask us, we'll take a little break before we continue. I hope you're getting a sense of who Teleios is and what it takes to build software, especially going through this pandemic. And so therefore, to kind of come to the end, we still had to deliver stuff. And to talk about a bit about that is our delivery project manager, Justin Gittins.
Yeah, they're not responding at all. I'm not sure how to repeat the emails. Nothing. Well, yeah, we're just gonna have to see what happens. I mean, I'll reach out to them again and hopefully we get a favorable response. But so far the project has been going well and we've been meeting everything that they want. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Oh, hello. Hi, my name is Justin Gittins. Thanks for dropping by. I have to, I think, let you guys know all about my role. So I am the solutions, I work in the solutions and services group, and I am the delivery project manager. That means that for our group, and we are one of the probably one of two client-facing groups apart from sales, which is up-and-coming function inside of Teleios. But we are client-facing. And so for me, as delivery project manager, I have to liaise with all of the clients to ensure that, one, we understand their needs, we understand what they're going after for any particular engagement, and that I have all of the needs and requirements and objectives packaged in such a way that our development team and the resources that Teleios employs, that we are able to firstly correctly understand it and then build according to the needs of the clients. So overall, that represents what we deliver to them. So I'm responsible for overall that delivery, matching and making sure there's a strong pairing between what the clients want and what we build for them in meeting their needs. And so, yeah, in a short few sentences, that's what my role entails inside the Solutions and Services Group.
Really glad to sort of end this part of the presentation with a note from Justin, largely because it is a software business. It's not just playing and having fun, but there can be a lot of that from time to time. It takes a lot of us to get this done. It takes a really deep commitment, because you often have to deal with doubt on the inside as well as on the outside. Maybe thinking, can I even do this? Is this possible? Will what I build be responded to favorably in the marketplace? Can it deliver real value? Can it sustain us? But from time to time, it is stressful, and yet we found we've been able to build value both for ourselves and for our customers with the right focus. So this is Teleios Systems, guys. Good to talk to you. Let's take any questions if you have them. Because I like seeing the hand so much, I'm going to do it one more time. Guys, let's see the hands. Look at those hands. Hands going up all over the room. You guys had a good time?
Definitely.